Let's go over some of the projects here. ShopBirdy MCP is available on production, so people can actually sign up and start creating images at scale. Basically, the problem that ShopBirdy MCP solves is there's just so much content that is created every single day that it's really hard to keep up unless you have a backlog or a pipeline of fresh content that you want to produce. I think it's a little bit different from saying, well, I already have images for my products. I already have a photo gallery. I already have a catalog. Why do I need more images? I already have them. I guess my take is that every single day, customers, potential customers, clients, they log on to the internet, they check social media, and there's just all kinds of content. And what you want to ask yourself is what percentage of the content that my potential customers consume on a daily basis is my branded content. And if you're not at least greater than 0%, then chances are you are no longer top of mind for your potential customers. And so it almost becomes this game that you almost have to play to stay relevant, just to stay on the minds of your customers. So then we have the challenge of what is the content I should create? How do I create really high quality content that lends itself well and reflects my brand? And that's where ShopBirdy MCP comes in, because with ShopBirdy MCP, you can actually automate the creation of brand safe imageries, product visuals, and other forms of media for producing or from posting on your websites and on your social media channels. So let's kind of go into what this actually does. You can kind of think of it as having an agent that can do Photoshop for you. It's like a photographer and a Photoshop professional all wrapped into one. We call this ShopBirdy MCP. And what you're going to want to do is, I'm going to try to log out for a second. If you want to see how this works, you can go to mcp.shopbirdy.ai, and we have a full demo flow that walks you through everything. So what you're going to want to do is launch the demo workspace, and then once you're in the demo workspace, this will be your dashboard. So on this page, you'll see how many images you created, how many tokens that you used, and some other just main account features. If you want to get into things like, if you work for let's say you work for an organization and you also have a personal account and you want to flip back and forth between them, you would be able to do that here. But this is primarily designed for, I would say it's designed for professionals, people who it's kind of their job, or they make money by selling things online. And for them, it's really important that they have really high quality visuals. So to give you an example of what those visuals would look like, this is a public gallery. So if you go to mcp.shopbirdy.ai and you browse to the section public gallery, you'll see all of these high quality visuals. I haven't optimized the page load speed. I should do that. So it is loading the full resolution images. But as you can see, we created a batch of 4 different designer bags along with 4 different Labubu references. And we asked the ShopBirdy MCP to put them together in a studio shot so that we can show how you can put a Labubu with your designer purse, designer bag. We've also done this across just normal, everyday home products. So things that you would find, let's say, in your kitchen, in your living room, in your dining room. What we did here was we pointed ShopBirdy MCP to a product catalog, and we asked ShopBirdy MCP to go through each SKU, each product, and create a new, updated, fresh visual. We want to refresh the whole catalog. Can you do that? And ShopBirdy produced these kinds of results, which I think just look really good. Much better than just sort of a very plain image here. It's more contextualized and it's really nice. And I think this would speak more. This speaks to customers. And then let's say, for example, you have a restaurant and you sell your products through online channels like online food delivery services. Fundamentally, when people shop online or order something online, what effectively they're doing is they're making their consideration in large part based on the image, the product visual, what the product looks like. So this is very important for online food menus because if you don't have pictures to go along with your menus, when people are trying to buy something online, they're kind of, unless they have an image, they kind of don't know what they're going to get. And so effectively what people are doing is they're buying the image first before they actually get the product delivered. They're making their consideration based on the image and probably the price and maybe some other details. But those are 2 of the most important factors for their consideration is what am I getting, what do I get, and how much does it cost? So I think an image like this communicates that very well. So what we did here is we created 24 different iconic menu items within Thai cuisine. So if you're a Thai restaurant in the United States, for example, and you want to sell more than just pad Thai, because pad Thai is definitely a great dish, but the variety and diversity of Thai food is very expansive, and it's amazing, and it's not expensive. It's normally very affordable food. So to visualize what some of those dishes could look like, you could use a tool like this. So here we have pad siu, and we have boat noodles, and we have chicken rice. Here this is like a curry, and this is a steamed fish. This is a kind of a grilled or fried fish. Mango sticky rice. This is satay skewers. This is todman. This is deep fried fish meatballs. They're kind of flattened. This is, I forgot the name of this. This is coconut. And then you have things like coffee, tea. You have other forms of skewers. This is lab. This is minced meat. This is khao soy. This is chicken noodles with the curry sauce. This is fried rice. This is the iconic pekapao, which is stir-fried basil with meat, an iconic egg and rice, all kinds, somtam and just so many different wonderful dishes. This is very appealing, very appetizing. Suddenly I feel a bit hungry, and I'm starting to consider which of these I'm in the mood for right now. That's the power of the visuals. So you can do this, and you can also do this for creating AI avatars. So I imagine that very quickly we are going to evolve from purely chat-based interfaces to a avatar who actually speaks with you. So as you're chatting, the avatar can then respond. And so what you want to do is you want to create probably, you can think of these as emotes or emotional states or just facial expressions. So you might want to have one where the agent is looking something up, or the agent is welcoming the customer to the online store, or the agent is listening to the customer, or the agent is considering or thinking. So you might have different facial expressions for that. And so as you're typing and as you're discussing, the model could then call the right emote for that part of the text and play the video back so that it looks like you're actually having a conversation with a virtual sales agent rather than only doing it through text-based chat. Again, this can be complementary, so you can add this in addition to the chat. I think it just resonates with people. Anything you can do to kind of engage them and have them express some interest and have them spend a little bit more time and have them possibly make a purchase consideration. I think all of those things are within your ability to kind of help nudge towards your ultimate goal. So that's kind of what this does. So we'll go back into our organization, and then we will launch the generative AI, the generative sandbox. So here's where you're going to start with a prompt. So you could say something like a Scandinavian living room showcasing a neutral corner sofa and large windows. Now that alone is already a pretty decent prompt, but what ShopBirdy would do is we would enhance this prompt. So basically what we would do is we would take your input tokens, the text you provided, and we would try to structure a very well-crafted, almost like a full document. So you give us the brief and we turn that into almost like a full document with code and values and perspectives and angles and all kinds of layouts so that you get something that's really, really refined and really rich. So when you send this, what we'll do in the background is we'll enhance that. And effectively, we will create that as a seed batch. And then this kicks off the workers. So essentially, we have multiple agents that can take your initial prompt, replicate it, let's say 24 times, and then they can all kind of, however many agents that we spawn, can then go through and iterate and complete all those jobs. And then you would have your output in the form of the gallery, right? So that's a way to kind of, basically, you can define what you really like, do it once or twice, and then save that as like a template, and then have ShopBirdy MCP create many variations of that, so that whether you want one image or multiple images, you can you have many to choose from, right? You have a whole selection to choose from. And even if you're thinking, well, that sounds like difficult for me because I don't know which ones that the customers would react to the best. That's actually what this platform is designed to do. This platform is actually is enabling A/B testing at scale. So effectively, you can then leverage all the images that you've created. And here it's saying that I have one failed generation. I can go back and retry that generation. Sometimes they fail for whatever reason. It could be a network timeout issue. It could be a rate limit on the API, or for some reason the system may flag it as potentially violating policies. So oftentimes there's false positives for that, so we can just re-roll that. But here, this is just giving you an example of what that would look like. Okay, so back to how do we determine which images that we should actually roll out with? Well, the good news is that we've built in A/B testing, so you can actually see how these images are performing. You can actually do evals on your various prompts, and you can actually measure two similar images or two different prompts to see which one was actually better for your ultimate goals, whether that's higher click-through rates, more conversions, or ultimately more revenue. And so when you can do this at scale, you can get recommendations. You can get the AI to say, you know what, this should be promoted because it is performing very, very well. You can also get ideas for seasonal garnish prompts, let's say for a Mother's Day campaign. And then you can reevaluate from there. So this can help you track your prompts, do evals on your prompts, and also track your image performance. And the way we can do that is because we build in these connectors. So effectively what these connectors do is they connect to your Shopify, to your Magento, your BigCommerce, your WooCommerce online stores, for example. If you're doing social media advertising like Instagram or Meta or TikTok ads, you could connect it to this. If you're doing content marketing for your branded page, like let's say you have a LinkedIn page for your business, or you have an official Line account for your for your customers to chat with you, you can do that as well. Let's say you want to measure this based on your website's traffic. You have Google Analytics, and you want to measure what's the pages, the page views, and the engagement, the time spent per page based on each of the different images. You could do that with this. And then let's say you have a content management platform like WordPress. This could plug in directly into your system and let you port or post these images directly to where they would be served to the customer. So this is ShopBirdy MCP. It's a tool for you to create large amounts of product images, either to create many variations of one product or to create a ton of different product images and then test them to see which ones are performing the best, which ones are actually working with customers. Obviously, you can use your own visual inspection to look at the images and determine which ones you like the best for your brand. But then once you've defined the set that you think represent your brand well, the next step is to actually let the customers tell you through their engagement, through what they click on, through what they are ordering, and how much time they spend considering each of the purchases. So you'll learn way more once you actually deploy this and can actually measure the lift. Pricing is very affordable. There's a free plan. There's a plan for effectively a discount right now. So initially we were going to charge $1 per image because of all of the other things that we bundle in beyond just the image itself. So there's the retries, the automation, the time it saves you, hosting the image, and also connecting it to all the different channels that you want to publish this to. So initially we thought dollar per image would make sense. It's worth it because you're getting a lot more than just the image. You're getting a whole pipeline and a whole workflow. But for the limited time, we're offering a 50% discount on certain batch sizes. So in this case, you can sign up. You can generate 100 images. It only costs you $50 a month. You get 100 images, and you get all of the features that I mentioned in terms of the connectors and being able to test and do the A/B test. And also, the image could be hosted for you so that you could use it wherever you want it. You could have a central place to keep all of your images, and then you could deploy that across all your channels. If you're an enterprise and you're thinking, I'd love to use this, but I want to go beyond just only my marketing team. I want to have internal communications. Maybe we want to use some images for HR purposes. Maybe we want to use images for investor relations. Maybe we want to use images for launching a whole new brand or maybe a new product that we want to test the response before we actually build anything or before we actually ship anything. Let's test it first. So you can have tons of different use cases where within a large organization, you might have various teams, and within those teams, they could each have a budget or a quota for generating images. And at the same time, from more of a macro level, you could define. Let's say I'm the leader of the organization, I'm the CEO of the organization, or I'm the chief brand officer. Let me create a sample set of images across a variety of different use cases. Let's pick 10 different use cases where we might need images. They could be 10 different divisions or functions within the organization, 10 different campaigns, whatever it may be. And for each of those, let's create 100 images. All right, so you're going to end up with 1,000 images, and they're going to cover the entire organization. Pretty much everyone in the organization is going to be able to find an image for their work. And what you can do is you can create this as a repository, as a gallery, that then the entire corporation, the entire company can then view and see, and then they can understand, like, this is sort of the brand guidelines. This is how we would like our product to be communicated visually. This is how we would like it to be represented. And once they have this brand safe repository, they can then remix and update prompts, but staying within those same overall brand guidelines. So that whether you are a glassware manufacturer, a luxury yacht booking platform, or you are in the property development space, whatever your industry, restaurants, fashion, e-commerce, you can use ShopBirdy MCP. You can use the power of AI generated visuals created at scale in these batches, and then measured with the prompt evals and also how well they perform across different channels. So that is ShopBirdyMCP.ai. It is live. You can go to this URL, mcp.shopbirdy.ai, and have a try. And if you're ready to actually move forward on getting set up from an enterprise account, contact me. You can contact me using this email link at the bottom here that says contact sales, and I will actually set you up with your own workspace. Right now, we only have one demo workspace for everyone to share, but you can have your own workspace with your own prompts, your own evals, your own connectors, and your own images. So you'd be ready to go in very short order. All right. So that's now the new mcp.shopbirdy.ai, enterprise ready. Lightning fast merchandising visuals tuned to your brand. Render studio grade imagery, automate batch updates, and orchestrate AI design workflows all through one control plane. ShopBirdy MCP gives creative and commerce teams the clarity, speed, and governance they need to ship campaigns without slowing down. All right? This is all the power creative teams keep asking for. Right? Swap scattered tooling for a single system that understands merchandising context, speaks XML and JSON prompts, and hands back polished assets almost instantly. You can guided prompt engineering with this tool, so we will help you to enhance your prompts and utilize the full amount of tokens that you possibly can use for creating one great image. You can spin up variant batches in minutes, push to your CMS, and feed live A/B metrics back into MCP, so the next drop ships with data-backed winners. Okay, batch orchestration, generate hundreds of SKUs, route approvals, and sync to your media library automatically with audit trails for every asset. Enterprise controls, enforce brand rules, apply territories, and connect your billing in minutes. SSO, role-based access, and webhook events are pre-built. All right. So the other thing I should mention is that this whole page, this whole landing page, everything that you see here was actually built based on the actual code base. So a lot of times people build a landing page and then they'll build a product because they want to test, do people even want this product, right? That's the classic testing, front door test. It's like you put up a storefront door, and you see if people, want to go in. And then that gives you the data to say, oh, well, I should actually pursue this. that is effectively what ShopBirdy does, except for we kind of take this way beyond that. This is based on decades of experience building software and launching businesses. So obviously we know the importance of testing, which is why we have this built in. But I think what I realized early on is in my experimentation with understanding AI is that image visual generation is going to be the next big thing for AI, and video, of course. But video has that has even more resources required, and it'll be a little bit, much slower than images. But images, I think, is the next step. So having a very comprehensive understanding of what generative images is like, right? I don't think people really understand this yet. I think people have a great grasp of what chatbots can do, of what vibe coding can do, of what AI can do for summarization, for example. But I don't think people yet have developed AI skills to really get the most out of generative image generation. And I think if you have a background in photography, if you have a background in graphic design and Photoshop, those skills apply directly to ShopBirdy MCP. Instead of you having to click through all these different menus and set all the settings on your camera and arrange all your layers and everything in your Photoshop, you just describe the outcomes that you wanted to see. If you know the camera angle, you know the perspective, you know the aspect ratio, you know the depth of field, you know what you want to focus on, what's what should be in the foreground, what's in the background. If you have this kind of composition, if you have the vocabulary to describe the composition of these images, you can do really great things with these AI image generation tools. Now, the AI image generation tools can produce a variety of different outputs. They can create infographics, they can create illustrations and comic books and so forth. What I'm trying to do with ShopBirdy MCP is to get really good at the hyper-realistic product imagery so that you can basically create an image that will sell to the widest amount of people possible, right? The broadest array of people that you can sell your image to or your product to by creating many variations and localizing it. I was recently listening to a podcast where Toby from Shopify shared a story of one of the Shopify sellers on his platform was struggling with their business in Europe. And they tried using one of the Shopify tools, which is to create AI image generations and update the product catalog. And they localized it. So they were struggling in Europe. And part of the reason why they were struggling in Europe was because they were using images that were designed for audiences, let's say in California, Southern California. And so what the shopkeeper or the seller did was they took those images and they put them in new backgrounds and new context to match the European consumer base. And doing so tripled their sales. That's 3 times more. Just by doing nothing else other than just localizing the products to that target market. So I think that kind of says it all. I don't have yet those 2x, 3x, 4x kind of sales increase numbers, but we definitely know the speed is there and the quality is there. So if we know we can get very high quality output at very high speed, then we've effectively reduced the barriers to actually trying this to see if this will actually increase lift the way we think it will. So pretty much you can use this right now and no need to wait. You should start using this immediately. ShopBirdy MCP. Okay, one more thing I'll share, guys, is that over the weekend, I used the new codex from OpenAI, and I asked it to basically refactor the old Playbasis platform and stand up a brand new refactored version of the original Playbasis API, this time built on a modern web stack. And I have to say, the codex coding agent is amazing. And you can use it with the Visual Studio Copilot. You can use it with the Visual Studio Copilot agent as well. So you have the Copilot and Codex. They can both be running on your platform. So you can have Codex off running on some long-running tasks for an hour or so. And then you can also have your Visual Studio Copilot in agent mode also doing something else. So maybe one side is doing the back end, another side is doing the front end, for example, or you're just on 2 separate parts of the code base. That gives you tremendous velocity. So by doing this, not only was I able to refactor the entire Playbasis code base in a weekend, which is pretty mind-boggling because this is a platform that we developed, over 1 million lines of code altogether over almost 10 years, and we invested probably about $1 million all in on salaries to build that. So we capitalized that. So effectively, we were able to take something that we built over the course of many years at the cost of about $1 million to something that we could accelerate the development down to a weekend with the coding agents. Now, in order to do that, we had to have a very good reference. So we had to have a very strong platform that the model could then replicate. Or model itself after the new version. So that's obviously is a big advantage. But this is running in live production in Azure. So there is now the Playbasis API is back online, and this is how it looks. So effectively, what we would do is we would say you would get an account. Again, you would always need in any of these situations you're going to need a key. You're going to need an account so that you can call these services, whether it's ShopBirdy MCP or Playbasis API. You're going to need to be issued these keys, and these keys come with privileges to access the services. And they also come with things like limitations based on your plan type, for example. But many cases, there's a free or demo version, so that's what we're using here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the API endpoint list players, and I'm going to share the key here, and I'm going to ask to return back no more than 50 players. What this does is it calls the Playbasis backend, the database, and it asks the database to list out all of the players in the player database. And then you would get an array like this where it comes with these fields: ID, display name, email, created at, updated at. We could also have other things. So we could have a list players and include details. So let's say we want to know how many points this player has. So I'll take this player ID. This was called test player. And then what I will do is I will use the other endpoint, which is called check a player's points balances. So what we'll do is we'll enter the player ID here. When you're developing your application with the Playbasis API, these would be constants. These would be variables that you could automatically plug in based on, because you know that user is logged in, so you could always pass that player ID. So if a player wants to check their own points, you could use this API to allow them to do that. If a player wants to check the points of another player, depending on your strategy, depending on how your API or how your app works, that could possibly be possible as well. So here I'm checking that this player ID has a currency labeled points. They have 100 of these points. Now, currencies can have many forms. They can be tokens, points, they can be diamonds, gold, whatever you want it to be. And then you can have basically a virtual economy balance whereby you could have a total max cap for all points, a total balance for a certain type of points. So let's say there's only 1 million total currency points available, and this person has 100 of them. And so that means that there's 99,990 points remaining, for example. So you could have those caps in your virtual economy. Again, it depends on how how you're building your overall strategy. But this is the backend API, and we're going to add more operations and endpoints to this. But this is now running, as you can see from the post and the get. We can actually grab that data, get response 200 OK on the Playbasis API. Is returning response correctly. Then, once you have an API, the next thing you need is a UI, a front end, because the Playbasis is now handling all the backend stuff. So you don't need to spin up a database to sort or to store your players' account balances, for example, when it comes to points. If you're doing a sort of a gamified, or you're building an engagement design system with game-inspired mechanics, like let's say leaderboards, or even a player profile page, or you want to have things like momentum stats or missions and quests, all of this is now powered through the API. And if you want to have rewards that people can redeem their points to unlock things, like let's say an avatar frame or a boost, an in-app boost, they want to unlock some badges, or they want to purchase a coupon, for example, you could do that as well with this. You have achievements and trophy cases. So basically, now that we have this this API, Playbasis API, you can vibe code any app that wants to use Playbasis API. You can use our platform, you can use our UIs to quickly launch these features into your app. We actually have this as a library. So these are going to be basically open sourced because they work perfectly with our API. So we want you to be able to use this quickly. We want to have the shortest time to realize value as possible. We want to get you up and running as quickly as possible. So again, you can start testing. I think what happens in a lot of cases is we get analysis paralysis. We contemplate so much when we are working in certain organizations. We are really good at kind of like squashing our own ideas, right? Not even allowing them to be tested, to even try. Because we overanalyze things and we think, no, we're always looking for the reasons why it won't work. And the problem with that is that when we do this kind of thing, we lose out on the ability to actually validate with users, to get real responses, to get real data, to actually verify. How do we know if something's fun if people can't play it, right? We have to let them play it to know if something's fun. So I think that's what's so important about rapid iteration, and whether that's launching a user engagement strategy using Playbasis APIs, or building out beautiful catalog visuals using a ShopBirdy MCP, right? It's so important that we actually get beyond what's holding us back from actually trying and testing something and just running a small experiment, right? Just running a campaign, right? I think that's the whole point of campaigns, is that you time box them, you have a goal, you set your metrics, and you say, okay, we're going to see. Let's see what happens when we do this. If we do this right, let's take all of our notes, right? Let's have our baseline. Let's understand what the before and after would look like. And then let's run it for a particular period of time. And then let's see what the results are. And based on my experience at Playbasis, in almost every case where we did these campaigns, the results actually went beyond their expectations, right? Because it's such a leap forward in how things are traditionally done. You get numbers that almost don't seem real, like 20 times more transaction volume during that period. Like, that doesn't seem like it could even be possible. But it's all about, how you create your strategy, what's the UI, what's the incentive, all of those things put together, you can have some really incredible results. So just previewing that over the weekend, I built the Playbasis API. It's back online. And then I also built, using, again, coding tools, UI components for all of the APIs. So as you can see, there's all these different API endpoints, and there will be even more. And you need a UI to actually fetch those API endpoints and display them on the front end for the customer. And so that's what these components do. They plug directly into the API. So I think you can imagine very quickly here, whichever vibe coding tool you're using, if there's a Playbasis API document, or even better, a Playbasis MCP that you could plug in, then your coding environment would have knowledge of your basically your Playbasis system, how you design everything, what are the various features that are available, and then they can actually create awesome UI that work for your brand. And then what I would like to also do is, because Codex is now available through API, I think what I can do is I can make Playbasis kind of a vibe coded app. I think I can make it so that you can create your own designed UI elements, your own leaderboard styles, your own quest systems, your own badges, your own trophies, and then you can use ShopBirdy MCP to actually create all the different avatars and the icons for your campaign, for your program. So I'm really super excited about this. We call this kind of like the Playbasis experience layer to connect to the Playbasis API, and then you can even add in GPT-5 into this, so that you could say, update this for my use case, which is a fitness app, or we need to change the colors to I don't know, to golden horizon, or blue, or green, or whatever colors that your brand guideline is, and then you can update everything so that it works perfectly well within your brand. As you can tell, I'm very into aesthetics. I think great design is very important. That could be in game design, incentive design, UI design, even just code design, visual design. So I think these things are part and parcel. And so I'm really excited about where we're at with the latest in AI. I think now we're starting to get to at the vision of what I had probably 5 years ago of where we would be, and I think we're finally there. So I'm super excited that Playbasis API is now live and deployed, and is a resource available for customers. Playbasis UI experience layer is getting rebuilt from the ground up. The whole platform is rebuilt on a modern tech stack using all the most modern tech libraries, all the modern code libraries, TypeScript and React and everything else. And I'm very excited about the ability to also help automate some of the visual design and visual creation tools with something like ShopBirdy MCP. So you could imagine in the very near future having something like using a ShopBirdy MCP and a Playbasis MCP to build you a whole new beautifully designed website that has an experience layer, an incentive design system. It has commerce, it has points, it has rewards, it has coupons, it has friend invitations, it has competitions, it has amazing photo galleries, just everything end to end you could do with these tools. So I'll leave it there, but I really hope that some of you reach out to me and we can start your next campaign. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.